Hey everybody, it's Terensu again, and today we're playing Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know I played this game all the way through a while back. This is a different version of the game. It's the Game Boy Color version. It also uses the cross instead of the axe, so I thought it would be fun to do a playthrough of this game, and with commentary this time, so we could talk a little bit about it. So we're going to start things off very traditionally and go to the Glass Castle. Or Crystal Castle, I think as it's called. Seems like there's in the soundtrack for the game calls it the Glass Castle or something weirdly translated like that. Anyway, we are Christopher Belmont. Look at this nice Byzantine blue here. Purple, rather. Byzantine purple. Anyway, we are Christopher Belmont. I'm not quite sure where he falls in the timeline. I think he's somewhere between Trevor and Simon, maybe? I don't know. Who can keep them all straight anyway? Anyway, this is one of the first sequels in the series to contain the same Belmont. So, at the end of that steaming pile Castlevania adventure, Christopher defeated Dracula. But on his son's coming-of-age party, Dracula comes back and kidnaps his son and creates 4 castles. So Christopher here is just not having any of it. He's about to go take care of business. I can't decide if the color in this version looks better or worse, because it's one of those things where they just arbitrarily went and added some color to an old Game Boy game. So it's not like, say, Pokemon Silver, where you could play it in black and white, but it had a predetermined palette that it was supposed to use. This is just like they went back and arbitrarily added color. After all the Total War and Europa Universalis 4, that really does look like Byzantine purple. Anyway, the Glass Castle is the first. The Crystal Castle is the first one. It's not very difficult. It's pretty easy to just go through here. It's really easy to get lost in thought, sans commentary on this. But I will try to provide it my best. In this room there is actually 2 or 3 hidden paths, and I'll show them to you very quickly. You can climb up through the wall here. The middle one is just a dead end. The right one gets you that candle, which is just a heart, because I already have the maximum whip upgrade and everything. And then the far left one takes you to this room where you can get some more goodies. I didn't really showcase the cross a lot in my other video, so I'm going to use it in this one a little bit. Well, I couldn't have showcased the cross because it wasn't in the other version. What am I thinking? But basically, you have 2 sub-weapons, which is a major step up from Castlevania the Adventure, which had none. You got holy water, and depending on the version of the game you're playing, you either have the cross or you have the axe. The cross, like most early Castlevania games, was censored out of the American release. Which is funny that they censored it, really, because the cross sub-weapon always made it in. Like if you play Castlevania 4, for example, where they took all the crosses out of the intro and things, you know, it still had a cross sub-weapon. But in this one, they decided to censor the cross and replace it with the axe. I'm not really sure why. I mean, I'm a Christian myself, and having a cross in the game doesn't really offend me at all. But I guess Nintendo had very strict censorship policies back then, so they had to. Now you'll notice I took the top path. You can take the bottom path over there. I just prefer the top one, because you're less likely to get hit dealing with the enemies on the top path as opposed to the bottom one. The bottom one has you going through like another lake, like at the beginning of the stage, with the lizard monsters that jump in and out of the water. And there's one particular jump where they're really bad about spawning directly in front of you as you're about to make the jump. So I just prefer to avoid that altogether. I've got to the point where usually I can, if I want to go that route, I can take that hit and it doesn't matter because this stage is very easy. But just for looking like I know what I'm doing's sake, we're going to avoid that. So in this game, whenever you get close to the boss, the music changes. And the soundtrack, fun fact, the song is called Road to Enter Me, because they did not check the spelling at all when they released it. You also had to pick up this orb to get the boss to appear. Also, if I leave the screen and come back, the candle will actually respawn. Anyway, this first boss is an absolute joke. Let me show you why. If you don't want to get hit, all you do is stay in the corner. That's it. He'll actually come to you. Now, he's only vulnerable when he's phasing in, but it doesn't matter. And dead. Very simple. Oh, I got the pose there. Good. In classic Castlevania fashion, you want to clear the stage with as much crap on screen as possible because it makes you cooler. Now, the game has suggested that we do the rock castle next. I'm actually going to do the plant castle because it's probably my least favorite and I want to get it out of the way. And for some reason, part of the castle didn't get colored all the way. If you look at that little picture up there, some parts of it are missing color. Anyway, if you notice, those plants in the background bloom as I walk by them, which is a nice effect. Now there's a frog up here. Good, I got him. That you had to watch out for because you can't really see. You can barely see that one. See, I got him. I wonder why the spikes are blue. Did that jump look as dangerous as it felt? Normally this would contain another holy water, but since we've already got one, we just get a heart. Here's another one of those places where you have two paths. I'm going to take the top one because I never take the top one. The reason being, it's annoying to avoid breaking the fence, because if you kill one of those eyeballs on the bridge, it destroys it, and so you have to go down there, and you don't want to get in between two of those things, shoot those balls, because if they touch you, you lose a power level on your whip, and you'll no longer be over 9,000. Every stage in this game has a gimmick, if you want to call it that. The plant castle has these rope climbing segments, and it also has some mush you have to walk through later that makes you walk slow. The crystal castle, of course, had the places where you had to walk through the water, with the enemies jumping in and out and the currents changing. And of course the rock and cloud castle have their own gimmicks as well. I really like it though. It gives every stage some personality, and I think it's a good example of good level design too, because the game, like if you master the first 4 levels, it prepares you for the last 2 levels, because in some form or fashion you encounter 90% of those challenges again, only like in a harder environment. So it's like, that's good level design to me, where they show you a challenge and then you master it, and then later on, you know, they test to make sure you mastered it. These things are very easy not to get hit by. If you do get hit by them, they take hearts away, so avoid that. And there's just some spikes here in the middle of the thing, like if you just wanted to kill yourself, I guess you could. Here's one of the special features I was talking about. Now you can get this holy water and use it to kill the eyeballs such that they don't blow a hole in the bridge. But if you know what you're doing, you can just jump them. You couldn't do that on the earlier segment because there were spikes above you, but you can jump over them here. This is also a secret passageway, but it's just a whip power up and a cross, which I already have, so we're going to avoid it for now. But just to show you that I know that it's there. Because I've seen everything. I've seen it all. Here's another fun room, another special feature, climbing on spider webs. This is definitely one of those challenges you have to learn because it comes up later in the next to last level in the game. I do like the color they made that water down there. That's kind of a nice effect. And those spiders will shoot a little ball at you if you let them get back up to the top. I've seen the eyeballs in this area do some strange things. Sometimes they'll like bunch up and come out 3 or 4 at a time, and you get whacked with one. So it's best, like, yeah, see, like that. It's best to just get through there as quick as possible. This boss is not quite as easy as the other one, but still it's not very difficult. If you know what he's going to do, I would say after 1 or 2 cycles you'll have this one down pat. Ah! So much for the no damage run. Oh well. And that will kill you if you go stand under there when it falls, so don't think you're going to be cute. Can't help but notice that cross is just a little bit off in its proportions, and now that will bug you every time you see this game, and there is nothing you can do about it. Now we're going to go to the Rock Castle. Rock Castle probably brings back some memories of those who suffered through Castlevania the Adventure as a child, because the frogs that hop out of the holes in the wall make a return in this level. I believe that was actually the boss of one of the levels in Castlevania the Adventure. It was just a bunch of like little enemies that you had to kill before they all got on screen and overwhelmed you. That concept kind of comes to play again here, but it's fortunately very manageable if you know what you're doing. These mudmen can be instantly killed with holy water. You can hit them X number of times, or you can hit them as they're coming up from the ceiling or the ground. Otherwise, they come back several times before they die. Alright, this is the first frog room. This one you just let him go by. You step forward and whip that one. And you shouldn't take a hit, but I did. Get this guy on your way down. Turn around, wait, whip him. Kill him. And then go up the rope. Wait for a second, jump. Wait for a second, jump. Walk, jump, jump. This is the same thing. You pretty much just have to stop and kill them. See, like I missed and I paid the price for it. But you want to kill these guys as soon as you see them, or you get overwhelmed like that. Fortunately, not too bad that time. Little invisible shortcut here. Now, somebody pointed out in the comments to me on my other video, I didn't know this, but this room will go dark if you hit the candles. I thought it just went dark automatically, but no, it's if you knock the candles out in a particular area, it goes dark. So what you do is just always leave at least one candle on screen, and it won't go dark on you. There's a secret area up here I'll show you guys. We can let this area go dark because it doesn't matter. If it does go dark, those things up there come to life and you have to fight them, and they're kind of annoying. They just kind of get in the way. Unfortunately, you never get to revisit the dark room concept. They didn't use that for the final 2 levels. What they did use is coming up, though. In fact, here it is now. It's these crusher spikes. There's a few puzzle-like rooms later on where you have to figure out the right time to kill them to progress. This one you can just skip. There's no point in doing that. You're going to end up in the same room. It just takes you more time to get to the other side, so I just always go straight down right there. Fun fact about these guys, they can only have 2 projectiles on screen at one time. So if you can get 2 on screen and get away from him, that's even better, because then you can just walk up to him and he'll be defenseless. In this room in particular, if you can get 2 of the balls to go up while you get to the bottom screen, those guys are defenseless. This whole game has very pattern-based enemies, like the sword chucker in particular is one that will drive you fits if you don't know what you're doing, but once you figure out, it's very easy to kill him. And in great Torensu fashion, I missed every single candle up there. This guy has 2 forms. Fortunately, they're both very easy. Once you know the secret, that is. So basically, this guy jumps, he throws crap at you, he sits down, he throws crap at you, and then he does it from the other side. Even if you don't have the powered up whip, you can just slide down and whip him as he jumps back, and the fight will be over, no problem. If you have sub-weapons, holy water in particular is useful because you can catch him on the ground. Just never leave this right rope once he transforms and you're golden. I don't even know what that thing is supposed to be. Why can't I hold all these points? Alright, next we do the last normal level. Which is, of course, the Cloud Castle. Kumo no Shiro. This music track called Praying Hands is one of my favorite in the game. I have my original Game Boy in this game upstairs. I kind of want to go get it. Listen to it on the old regular gray Game Boy for nostalgic purposes. There is a sound test for this game. You can use password heart 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 to unlock it. For some reason I love to mess these jumps up in this stage. I don't know why. I've done it 1,000 times. Just take it slow here. That's a cross, but we'll just save it for now. This stage, this level gets a little easier with the fireball whip because you can avoid having to get up close and personal with that guy. Also, all of these castles that Dracula made, have you noticed they work really well as a platform game, but they would be terrible to actually live in? I mean, who has to get around their house by a bunch of ropes hanging up? Sort of CrossFit trainer's dream house or something. How do you know if someone goes into Dracula castles? Don't worry, they'll tell you about it. Here's another one where we have to be kind of careful because we don't want to get hit by those. Let's get our cross back. Now here's one of the sections coming up after this guy, I think. That they do reuse in the later level. And that's these gears with rope coming out of them. Oh no, I missed it. So basically how this works is they change directions about every 10 seconds or so, and you just have to make sure you're going where you need to go. If you touch the gears, it does hurt you, and it's easy to fall in the abyss down there, so you gotta be careful. This guy can be a real pest. Christopher is not the fastest Belmont either. Here we go. I'm not sure why the background flickers like that. I don't know what kind of effect they were going for, or if that's just the Game Boy having a heart attack at all the sprites or something. One of these candles is a big, haha, I gave you holy water when really you need the other sub-weapon for the boss, so I usually just avoid them, because I can never remember which it is. Alright, this boss is the Angel Skeleton. It's basically two skeletons which spit bones back and forth at each other to grow or shrink in length. And they are nothing. There we go. Sweet pose, bro. Well, it only took us 4 levels into the game, but now Castlevania has made its actual appearance. Get this somewhat fancy sounding music as we see the classic Castlevania styled map showing us where we're headed. This is stage 5. The background music is called Original Sin. It's very catchy. I always thought that looked like a mouse riding a horse. If you look at that, it looks like a mouse. The face anyway, the rest of the body is obviously not a mouse. Here's an enemy returning from Castlevania the Adventure. They don't start popping up till stage 5. Pretty easy to deal with once you know what they're going to do though. Oh, I missed. Ah. That's it. Run's ruined. Game over. Our world record hopes have been dashed. Some more retread stuff here. This is one of the more difficult screens in the game. If you can get up there to him without him zapping you, you're good. You want to make sure you kill these guys with something that does decent damage, because if you use like your whip's fireball or something, then they'll split in two and you'll have two little bats to deal with. I kind of goofed there, but it's okay because there's a health up in this room. Let's get another one up. And here's a throwback to the plant castle level. Those guys look like they're made of watermelons. Yeah, so yeah, the whip fireball hit him before the whip did, so he split into two. Oh, I goofed that up hard. That's alright. Now this room kind of messes with you. If you go up, you end up in this infinite loop, so you have to go down here. It's one of the few nasty Simon's Quest-esque tricks in the game that you just have to know to avoid. Although I think most people would figure out that they needed to try the other direction after they went that way a lot and it didn't work. Here's one of the trickier bosses in the game. The first four really aren't that difficult. This one can be if you don't execute correctly. The safest way to beat this boss is to remember that you want to stay as far ahead of him as possible at all times, but you also have to watch because he will try to get in front of you. not getting trapped on the edge of the screen is a A+ strategy for this. See, he tried to trick me. He was on that far side of the screen. We should have just enough time to escape. Oh, I was wrong. Ooh, might have been death if I hadn't killed him there. But we did kill him, and that's all that matters. Interesting concept for a boss, if not a little unfair at times. Now more fancy music. You can see we made our way halfway. Now we're headed to the end of the map here. The music in this level is called Pest Pete. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that. It's a piece of classical music by Claude Debussy. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his last name. Forgive me. Good composer. Check him out sometime. There's actually like a whole musical piece of this song. They just used a little snippet of it for this stage music. I think whoever the main composer was on this project at Konami back in the day was probably a classical music fan, because this and the song that is used for the boss in this level are both pieces of classical music. One by Debussy and one by Bach. This is one of the toughest rooms in the game to go through without getting hit, especially if you don't have a full power set. Fortunately, we have the holy water and the fireball whip, so we got through pretty easy. It takes a while, but I usually just safe kill this guy with the fireball here. You have to watch his boomerang, because if it doesn't go far enough off screen, it will come back even though it looks like it isn't. And also, if you kill him while the boomerang is off screen, it will still come back. It just flies across screen and he doesn't catch it because he's, dead. That normally contains a piece of meat, but we're still at full health, so it doesn't. You can kill that crusher, but there's no point, so I don't. This is kind of the closest thing to a puzzle room in the game. You had to figure out to go across and then kill it and use it to jump. That's a dangerous candle to get. I don't know why anyone would attempt that for a heart. Yeah, see, the boomerang came back. He couldn't catch it because he was dead. This is the halfway point. If you die, if you get game over past this, this is where you'll always start back from, is right here. You gotta be careful not to jump into those spikes, because usually it means jumping into more spikes and into the pit at the bottom of the screen. Also, terrible level design. Well, I mean, good level design, but as if you wanted to live in this place. Absolutely terrible interior design. Chip and Joanna Gaines would have a headache remodeling this castle. Today on Dracula, Fixer-Upper. Alright, now we're past those, fortunately. We won't see any more of those. I can dream about killing bats. If you've got a cross and our fireball whip, this guy just doesn't stand a chance. Neither does this guy. I do like those big stained glass windows. If this room had a, you know, a floor, I think it'd be pretty good. Nice dining room or something. When me and my wife were about to get married, we went to look for houses. And I remember this one house they showed us, it didn't have a floor, it just had platforms floating. And you had to ride these little magically moving platforms from one section of the house to the other. And it was a great price, but we just couldn't deal with that. That would have been too much trouble to put floors and remove the death pits. Also wasn't in the best neighborhood, being in downtown Transylvania. Please, someone from real-life Transylvania, don't get on here and be offended. That was a joke. This spider you want to kill. These two you don't have time. This platform will kill you, so it's best just to jump with the spider still on it. Here's the last jump of the game. Now here's a great musical track for the you're in the boss area, but it only plays in this area, which is a shame because it's a really good piece. It's also pretty short, which is also a shame because, like I said, it's a really good piece. This is one of the better rooms in the game, if you're going to live here wise, because it has both lights and a floor. You have made it here. I will soon bring him back. Yay for pronouns. To this world. There's no way you can beat me. Father. Alright, this is Soleil, you demon, and the beginning of the fight is probably the hardest because you almost always take a hit there, but you want to be the opposite of wherever he throws those at. But if you can get him inside this little pattern here, you're golden. And I want to follow him because he's going to throw those over there. Oh! So, after mercilessly beating the crap out of my son, wait, Christopher uses the vampire killer whip Soleil also had the vampire killer whip. So who was phone? See, that translation's a little different. In the original Game Boy release, Soleil tells Christopher when he beats him that because Dracula can no longer use his power to resurrect, he will use the 4 castle spirits. But in this one, he says that his power is depleted and that Dracula will use the power of his men. Now, when we fight Dracula here in a second, you'll see that he uses the 4 orbs that the bosses left behind basically to come back to life. So, it makes me wonder if the bosses weren't intended to be like monster versions of Soleil's men or army or something. It's interesting that they changed that text, gives a little more background there. Because you would think if Dracula could just make 4 castle spirits and then use their power to bring himself back to life, why not just bring himself back to life to begin with? But anyway, there's the 4 castle spirits, aka Soleil's men. Now this boss is all about knowing the fight. There is no real special trick. He teleports to preset positions and you just want to go and whack him in the head. If you get greedy like that, you can whack him twice on some occasions and not get hit. But the orbs will hurt you when they're spinning around him as well as when he throws them, so you have to be careful. The cross is probably actually the better weapon for this fight. The axe tends to get caught up on the orbs and not do as much damage. I took a hit there, but it doesn't matter. Oh gosh. I made it all the way to the end and had to die like that. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Like I said, this is what happens when you get greedy. It's alright though. I don't know why they gave you that fireball power up there. It would have been better to give you a choice of the 2 sub-weapons. Because you're never going to be able to hit him with that fireball. Not easily, anyway. I actually have a strategy guide for this game up on GameFAQs. It's under Lee Chowlon is the name of the user. That's my guide. I wrote that back in high school. But the strategies and techniques in there for the bosses are still really good. So if you can get past the cheap jokes and bad grammar, it's actually a good guide if you want to learn to play this game. More to do it. What a face. You can actually fall on those spikes and die down there while he's dying, so to speak, so you have to be careful not to fall down there and die. Ruin the entire game. So see here in the ending, both Belmonts have whips, even though supposedly there's just one vampire killer. Maybe that's a training whip or something. Now in this one it says it's been crushed by a father's love for his son, which I think is actually better than the other ending. The original pretty much says that the combined effort of Christopher and Soleil defeated Dracula, but in reality Soleil getting kidnapped was kind of the reason Dracula came back. It's more Christopher. And see, they also call him Soleil in this one. Both iterations of his name are just puns for the French word for son and son, if I remember correctly. There's actually a hack for this game where you can play as Soleil Belmont because he has all the same animations that Christopher has. It would be neat if they could hack in his sword sub-weapon that he uses, but probably wouldn't be feasible to use. This was kind of early on in the series where they weren't really thinking about the long-term story of Castlevania, but when Koji Iragashi got in there, he really settled on a story and kind of gave the series a more concrete history, I guess, so to speak. Anyway, that is Belmont's Revenge, the color version with the cross in it. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you soon.